Mathematical modelling. It's not quite the same as fashion modelling, but it does involve some very engaging figures. And here to talk to us about it is mathematician Dr. Alex James. Hello Alex, how are you?
I'm all right, and yourself?
Yeah, pretty good actually. Hey, first off, why did you get interested in maths in the first place?
I was always interested in maths. I liked it when I was little. And I did actually when I was about 10 or 11. They said to me at school, they said, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, I want to be a mathematician. And they said I couldn't be. My maths teacher told me that there was no such thing as mathematicians.
Oh, good Lord. I thought it might have been a gender thing, but no, it was just the fact that they didn't exist.
There was no such thing as mathematicians, and I couldn't be one. And they said, if you really want to be a mathematician, if you really like maths, you can be a maths teacher.
That was it.
Fortunately, I didn't believe them. And I carried on anyway, and I did maths.
Oh my
God. I always liked it.
And do you find at parties that it's quite engaging to say that you are a mathematician? Does that work well for you?
It often doesn't come across great when you tell people. We do sort of know it as one of the biggest conversation stoppers going. Yeah, when people say, so what do you do? And I say, oh, I'm a mathematician. And they just go, oh, that's nice. Or they say, oh, it was my worst subject at school. And those are sort of the two answers you usually get.
That's probably because people don't really understand what you can do with maths. I mean, first off, what is mathematical modelling for a start?
Mathematical modelling that I do is all about taking problems in the real world and trying to use maths to describe them and use maths to help you answer some questions about them.
Okay.
Because often if you've got something in the world, I do a lot of ecology, so biology, ecology, a lot of things from nature.
Yep.
And we might take something like, a problem we look at a lot is, why aren't there very many fish? Yeah, there's quite a few out there, but kind of fish stocks are always always decreasing, and people are quite worried that a lot of fish species are going to become extinct, especially ones that a lot of us like to eat. Yeah. And so we try and look at questions like, why is that? Why is that happening? The example we always use is that cod. Yeah, that's something that we have in the chip shop quite a lot, and a female cod lays 1 million eggs. So where's the problem?
That's just one fish.
Yeah,
surely.
The place should be absolutely swimming with cod. We should have more of them than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
But the problem is that these eggs just get washed around in the ocean and they get eaten by other things. And not very many of them survive. And usually only 1 or 2 of them survive.
Good Lord.
Sometimes even less than that.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually quite important to know whether it's going to be sort of 1 or 2 or 3 of them survive, because that can make quite a big difference to the cod population. Yeah? And it's quite hard to go out and measure things in the ocean. You got a lot of biologists do great stuff with buckets and boats and put their bucket over the side and count the number of fish.
Yep.
Yeah? But it's quite hard for them to work out exactly what's going on and exactly what processes are happening in there. Yep. And so this is where the mathematical modellers come in. Yeah? We look at how fast fish grow, we look at how likely it is they're going to get eaten by something.
Yep.
And we try and put all that together and come up with a number come up with an answer that says, this is kind of how many of these eggs you'd expect to survive on average.
Right.
Yeah, so we try and answer questions like that.
Okay. And what do you do? Any other projects you're working on similar to that, or?
Well, again, this is the great thing about maths, is that as a mathematician, I get to work on loads and loads of different projects. Because actually the maths I use behind a lot of them is often quite similar.
Okay.
Yeah, so if I was a biologist, I would probably just study marine biology. And if you talk to biologists, they go, do you know about fish? And they say, oh, but I only know about freshwater fish. I know about fish in rivers. I don't know anything about fish in the sea.
Yeah.
Because to a biologist, they're very, very different.
Yep.
Whereas to a mathematician, we're kind of like, a fish is a fish. They often, they follow the same types of rules, and we can model them using the same mathematics.
Yep.
So I do a lot of work on larval fish. I do a lot of work on beetles? Honeydew beetles.
Yes.
Which, for anyone who lives in Canterbury,
yep.
chances are you come across honeydew beetles. Yep. Actually, I lie. This is where mathematicians always get it wrong. They're not called beetles. They're officially bugs.
They're bugs. They're not beetles.
Yes, they're not beetles.
What's the difference between a beetle and a
I
bug?
have no idea. As a mathematician, I don't need to know.
One's got a lovely singing voice. The other one
could be
honeydew.
something like that. Yeah. But my biology friends tell me it's very important that I call them bugs, not beetles. Yeah. But yeah, we do a lot of work on these bugs, and they're the ones that live on beech trees. Yeah, so if you go into Canterbury, if you go into the forest, say if you go to Oxford or where else, sort of Twy Glen, places around there in the Canterbury foothills, if you go into the beech forest there, You often, if you put your hand on one of the trees, your hand will come away all sticky.
Okay.
Yeah, so the trees are all covered in this black mould.
Right.
And there's all this sticky stuff. And if you look carefully, you can see little droplets of stuff coming out. And you can actually taste that and eat it, and it's quite nice. It's called honeydew. It's quite sweet and sticky.
Okay, but like honey.
Yeah, a bit like honey, and you can get honey made from it. Yeah, bees come along and eat it, and they make honey from it. Yeah, and it's very weird, dark, very earthy honey, but it's quite nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you try that, it's really nice. Tastes really sugary. It's beetle crab. That's actually what it is.
You've just ruined it for me right there. Beetle crab.
It's beetle crab.
So you count beetle crab? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, we collect it. We did some work. We collected a load of beetle crab, and we looked at how fast the droplets grew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, it's quite important to the trees how much because it's actually tree sap.
Yes.
Yeah, the little beetle makes a hole inside the tree, puts its mouth in, sucks out the sort of the sappy goodness out of the tree.
That it likes. Yep.
Yeah, and then craps out the rest that it doesn't need.
Basically processes it nicely.
Yep.
Boom.
Yeah, and gets rid of the stuff it doesn't want.
Yep.
And so the trees are losing quite a lot of stuff to this. They're losing a lot of tree sap, which is carbon.
And is it bad for the tree?
Well, we don't think it is.
There's a bit of a symbiotic thing going on.
Yeah, they can actually sort of up their production levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can lose like 5-10%.
Yeah.
Yeah, through this process, and so this is again the type of question we're trying to answer.
So these little beetles are helping with global warming. They're obviously signed up the Kyoto Protocol, and they're doing their
so.
bit.
Yeah, they're doing their bit. You know, they're putting carbon back into the earth where it belongs, so that other things can come along and eat it. Yeah. But yeah, and so those are the type of questions as mathematicians we try and sort of quantify that.
Yep.
Yeah, because the question is how much of this stuff comes out? How many beetles are there on there?
Yep.
Bugs, sorry. Yeah. How many of these bugs are there on there? Yeah, are there? You know, does it matter? You know,
Yes.
how much stuff will the tree lose? How much? And it's all quite important. There's a lot of native birds.
Yep.
Yeah, I think Kaka, I think is the one. Yeah, they come along, they eat this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's quite important to know exactly what's going on and what are the beetles actually doing. Yeah.
Yep.
What processes are at work there. One of the things that our work did, we showed that it makes a lot of difference depending on the weather. Yeah?
Okay.
Because these little tiny droplets, their evaporation is really, really important when it's something that small.
Yes.
Yeah, you get a lot of evaporation happening, and when you've got a bit of sugary water and you evaporate it, it gets really sticky.
It gets really gooey, just leave with
Yeah?
it. Yeah.
And so what happens is all these little tubes, all this essentially a little beetle's arse, it all gets gums up. Yeah? So it can't pull any more sap out. Yeah? Yeah? It's just kind of stuck. It's all a bit, constipated, you could say.
Constipated, needs a bit of clearing out.
Yeah.
Good curry or something. Yeah.
Exactly, that would sort everything for so yeah, this is, and we did some work that said there's sort of 3 different levels of weather. Yeah, it all depends on the humidity. Yeah, how much moisture there is in the air.
Yeah.
You know, and on a really, we realised there was a lot of difference between a really dry day and a kind of medium humidity day, and then a wet day when it's raining.
Right.
Yeah, and it turned out when we talked to the biologists about this, they said, oh, we kind of thought this was the case. But they didn't really know. They said, we kind of thought that happened, but we weren't really sure why it was happening.
Yep.
And so our models quantified it and said, we really think it is happening,
Yes.
and we can kind of tell you why it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the best climatic conditions for the old bug to do its thing?
If they want to, if you want your honeydew to be flowing, you want to see lots of honeydew flowing, go on a nice wet day.
Yeah, don't want it too hot.
Definitely
basically.
not. No nor'westers.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, nor'westers are not good for the honeydew.
Just gum right up.
Yeah.
So would you actually go out in the field yourself and do this sort of stuff, or do you just get students or slaves to do that, and you just crunch the numbers afterwards?
Slaves. No, I mean, again, this is the great thing as a mathematician, is if I want to, I can get involved in this stuff.
Yep.
Because I could just look at the papers, the ecologists do a lot of work and they publish it all and they write it all up nicely, and I can read that and sort of, oh yeah, this is all very nice and I can see the numbers they've done. But I'm really lucky in my job that I can go out and do this stuff for myself.
Yep.
Yeah? It's not what I want to spend all my time doing, but it's great fun to go out and spend a day in a forest trying to collect beetle crap, bug crap.
Hey, so what other jobs might you end up doing if you went down your track in terms of mathematical modelling?
Mathematical modelling.
What
Well,
other things? Yeah.
yesterday I went to AgResearch.
Yep.
Yeah, which is one of I think it's a Crown Research Institute.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's a kind of a government-funded place, and I went to them to talk about weeds. Yeah.
Okay.
They do a lot of work on production weeds, and a nice example is there's lots of farmers in North Canterbury, yeah, who have this thing growing on their farm called Nacella tussock.
Okay.
And it's not a good thing. Nothing can eat it.
Yep.
It's not native. Apparently it was imported over from South America and Argentina in sort of 1800s.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a pest. Yeah, it just grows everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Quite
they
invasive.
don't, yeah, very invasive. They don't want it. So what they do is every year they go out, these farmers, they go out and they do a thing called grubbing, where they go out and they just dig out as much of this stuff out of their farm as they possibly can.
Yep.
And so the question is, well, is this going to work? Are they ever going to get rid of this Nacella tussock by doing this every year?
Yep.
And maybe, should they really be doing it every year? Should they be doing it every 3 or 4 years? Yeah, what's the best way? Because remember, it's really expensive. This is a lot of time for these farmers to go out and spend digging. And so, you know, these people at AgResearch, they're doing mathematical modelling because they need to know things like, how fast does this stuff grow?
Right.
So they go out, they look at all the experimental data. They sometimes do their own experiments as well.
Yep.
Yeah, they look at all the experimental data and they try and work out, how fast is this stuff growing? Yeah, can we make a model? Can we sort of have on our computer our own little pretend Nacella tussock?
Yep.
Yeah, you know, sort of do simulations.
Yes.
Yeah, run those so they can kind of grow their own on their computer. Because again, you don't really want to grow it in a field in North Canterbury.
Because it might just take off.
Yeah, because then it'll take off and no one will love you for that.
Yeah.
I think if you do grow some on purpose, you have to be really careful and you have to have very sort of exact conditions to make sure it's not going to spread anywhere. Whereas on your computer,
Yeah, you grow your own virtual
yeah,
weeds.
exactly. You have your own virtual Nacella tussock. It'll just go on forever, and you can make it take over the whole of the South Island if you want to.
The whole of the world,
yeah?
exactly.
And just to see what happens, yeah, just to see what happens in different situations. And if you want to do that on your computer, you have to have the maths behind it.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to know how fast this stuff grows, under what circumstances, how does it spread, how do the seeds spread from one place to another. Yeah, do they just drop on the ground next to it, or do they disappear off and get blown by the wind to somewhere else?
And as you say, the same sort of formulas or maths is being used for the fish scenario or the weed scenario or the beetle poo or what have you.
Yeah, the maths behind it is all very similar. Yeah, so again, it's this thing of, if you're a biologist or an ecologist, you'll probably find you work on the same thing for a long time, yeah, because you learn a hell of a lot about one thing. Whereas as a mathematician, we just get to go, oh, let's do this today and let's do that tomorrow and then that next week.
Yes.
Yeah, because the maths is the same. We get to apply it to all sorts of different situations. So we get to learn about loads of different stuff.
Well, there you go. If you're going to have one more interesting and generalist work and occupation, maths is the thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks very much for talking to us today, Alex.
No worries.
And good
Thank
luck with the boats.
Thanks.